Hi everyone, welcome back to Maximum Attack Rallying. I'm starting this video with another apology. Full of apologies recently, it feels like. So, I said last week that this video would be a comparison between the 2023 and 2024 seasons of EA Sports WRC, and the honest truth is I just haven't had a chance to even look at it. So, I was planning to make a video about that, and I am still planning to make a video about that. I promise it will happen. You might just have to wait until Thursday for it. I've just been too busy to get the sim rig set up and just have some time to properly mess around with it. So that is coming, I promise. All the hype's going to have died down and no one's going to care about it by the time I make the video. So it's going to tank, but I'm going to do it anyway. I do promise that will happen. Another thing that should happen, of course, is that you should take a look at the Maximum Attack Rallying merch store. I know I keep plugging this, but do have a look. There is some cool stuff on there. I think there's some cool stuff on there anyway, so have a look at that and see if there is anything you fancy. Anyway, let's talk about something important, because at the weekend, a certain New Zealand driver won his second consecutive European Rally Championship. And I want to talk about it. I want to talk about Hayden Paddon, because I have a question. And that question is Hayden Paddon one of the most overlooked drivers in the WRC? Because he's not even in the WRC, and I think that is something of a tragedy. I was just thinking about it. You know, Hayden's a lovely guy. To win back-to-back European Championships is obviously a big achievement, and it just makes you wonder, doesn't it, why he didn't go further in the WRC. Very talented driver. So, did he deserve more? That is what I'm going to attempt to answer today. And you know what my answer is? My answer is yes. I think Paddon probably deserved to go a bit further. If you look at his career, I think it's fair to say that his career was very much on an upward trajectory. So he started in the WRC, got his WRC breakthrough in the production category, which obviously no longer exists. So before we had Rally 2 cars, the kind of second tier was still Group N cars back in, before Super 2000 and all that stuff. So Hayden got his break in those cars at WRC level. He was already a New Zealand rally champion by that point. Moved into PWRC, scored some good results, and then he won the championship in his first full season back in 2011. So that was obviously a good start. He's a 7-time New Zealand champion over the years. And he finally made his way up through SWRC, it was at the time, wasn't it, in Super 2000 cars, and then got a seat in WRC level cars. He's won his first WRC event and only WRC event in 2016 at Argentina. So I think, that things were going in the right direction, weren't they? Very much going in the right direction. 2017, however, was a much more difficult year. So that's obviously when we switched to the new generation of cars. Season started really tragically for Paddon in 2017 with an accident at Monte Carlo that resulted in the death of a spectator. So that was obviously an awful start to the year. The car was withdrawn. From there, he didn't have the best season, but he did score a couple of podiums. So, you could say that while he didn't get that second win, there was still good results. Unfortunately, at the end of 2017, he then was dropped to a part-time program with Hyundai. Still got a couple of podiums. I can't remember where. Maybe one of them was Poland. I can't remember. Sorry, I should have written that down. So, there was still signs for me. He was still a worthy driver. Any driver that's getting podiums, especially when you put them on a part-time program, I think you would have to say they probably deserve to be there, don't they? They're probably at the level where they should be in the WRC, because there are part-time drivers now that wouldn't get a look at a podium. So I think you have to say that he did deserve to continue. And I think, unfortunately, you could argue that perhaps he was a victim of the unusual management. Let's call it unusual management of the Hyundai team at the time. Obviously, over many seasons, Hyundai have had this not weird, but this very unique approach to their third car, with rotation of drivers and having lots of part-timers coming in and out. And, there's been lots and lots of movement, hasn't there, over the years? Well, Thierry Neuville has been this kind of fixture in the Hyundai team at the other end. In the third car, things have switched around. We might not see that next year, at least, and I think it would probably be good for the team to have a more solid permanent driver in that third car. But obviously during this period, they had this rotation, and I think Paddon suffered from that. So he lost his seat at the end of 2018, which was a real shame. And from there, it was a fight, wasn't it? You know, he spent the next couple of seasons trying to get back. I think it was 2019, wasn't it? He actually did a deal with M Sport, of all people, even though he was a Hyundai New Zealand brand ambassador. He did a deal with M Sport to drive a Fiesta WRC in Finland. And unfortunately, that didn't pan out. He crashed the car in the pre-event test and therefore couldn't do the rally. So, you know, there was a bit of bad luck there. That was a bit unfortunate for him. And from there, you know, I just don't think things ever really recovered, obviously, despite his support from Hyundai. New Zealand, he couldn't reach the significant budget required to get back into a WRC or Rally 1 car as they became. So I think that was kind of it, wasn't it? You know, at that point, the momentum was lost. There were new names on the scene and things never quite recovered. That's not to say that Paddon himself hasn't recovered, though, because since then, I think he has done a really good job. He has shown himself to be very consistent and has continued to perform at a very high level. Obviously, he's continued with success back in New Zealand in his AP4 car and also in his Rally 2 car that he's taken out there. You know, he's been doing the European Championship. He did Tour European Series at one point as well. Was that 2022 maybe? I can't remember. I forget. So he won that. And then he's had 2 campaigns in the European Championship, so he was the first non-European winner of the ERC. You know, he's won back-to-back titles and has shown that he is still performing at a really high level. So I think on a personal, from a personal perspective, Paddon should be really pleased with the level that he's continued to operate at. He has admitted that his chance at the WRC is gone, and even this season went as far as to admit that this would probably be his last season competing in Europe because, you know, it's expensive and it's difficult. It must place huge demands on his time and his life, mustn't it, his personal life, because he still spends a lot of time back in New Zealand. You know, he still has a business operating in New Zealand, but he's travelling to Europe to do these rallies. So it is a massive, massive commitment. But it shows, doesn't it? It shows the determination. And I think this is probably the tragedy of it for me, is that if you look at Paddon, he has been such a fantastic ambassador for the sport, for Hyundai. You know, despite everything that happened with the World Championship team, he's been such a strong presence for Hyundai New Zealand, such a massive character and support for that brand. You know, he's done so much for Hyundai. You know, he's continued to drive Hyundai Rally 2 cars. As I said, he's got an AP4 car back home as well. He does hill climb events with a modified version of that car. He's got massively, you know, he upstaged the WRC by developing his own fully electric Hyundai Kona rally car in conjunction with is it Star who do a lot of electric drivetrain stuff, and they developed a Rally 2 Skoda, didn't they? That Baumschlager used in Europe. But it shows, doesn't it? I think for me, he's such an asset for any team. You know, he's been such an asset for Hyundai, and I think, as I said, that's the tragedy of it for me. He could have been a huge asset for the world team, but just because of the way things were done, it never quite panned out, and he didn't get the chance to take that first win and then really kick on. You know, I think a lot of drivers get to that point, don't they? They score that first victory, and from there they build and then become a consistent championship threat. And I think it's a shame that Paddon didn't get a proper opportunity to do that. He had one full season after that, and then he was dropped to part-time, and just typical of the Hyundai setup at that time, unfortunately, wasn't it? It just didn't quite pan out. So, yeah, I think it's a real shame. I think for me, he has probably ended his WRC career as a missed opportunity for the championship, which obviously means that, you know, he didn't get the opportunities that perhaps he deserved. But, you know, you have to give him massive credit. 2-time European champion. He will, you know, even if this is the end of his competition or, you know, full-time competition in Europe, he will go back to New Zealand. He's got a business to run. You know, he's got things that he can continue to do there, and he can continue to be a massive asset for Hyundai in that region. So, you know, I think he should be massively proud of his career. I think he's a lovely guy. He's achieved a lot on the stages, achieved a lot off the stages with his own projects with the EV and things. So, you know, huge credit to Hayden. And I think if this is the end of his, you know, full-time or regular international competition, then then it's a shame, isn't it? You know, it's a loss for us in Europe as well as in the World Championship and everywhere else. So that is the conclusion. Yes, Hayden Paddon is a missed opportunity for the WRC. I think it's a real shame that he didn't get the chance to go on and compete for more victories and show us what he could have done. So I just wanted to talk about that. I know it isn't the video I promised, but it seemed timely and newsworthy given Hayden's success over the weekend. So I will end this video by saying a massive well done to Hayden Paddon and to John Kennard, his co-driver, who had retired several years ago but has come back and done a fantastic job. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and I promise you the next video will be the gaming video that I said it would. See you next time.